Hi everyone, how's it going? You know, the more I go through this TI experience, the more I realise I'm, I think, of course the torture is exhausting, of course it is, but being poor is even more exhausting. It's just, I was thinking about the amount of stuff that I've bought today. I bought a kettle, bought some crockery, bought a new pad. And the expense, I couldn't believe it. Like, I wanted to get some new blinds, and the new blinds are expensive as hell. It's like everything is so expensive. I'm holding on to this place by a thread already because, the gentrification bullshit. Like, so I've only just got here, and I'm already holding on to this place by a thread because of the torture and because of the entrapment going on already. So I just want a break. I'm just tired. I'm tired of the high costs of living. I'm tired of fucking relocation agents with somebody else's fanny in their mouth. Like, I'm tired of the gaslighting. I'm tired of the fucking emotional abuse, the constant machinations of people who are not even smart enough to get what's going on. Like, everything is just exhausting. I was thinking today, as I got the broadband package and as I got my crockery and as I got everything, that I might not even be here long enough to enjoy what I've built. And the thought of that makes me angry. I want to build a home here, but I might not even be around long enough to enjoy what I've built, to take pride in what I've built with my money and my time, because of the TI shit, like, just worsening the gentrification issue. And I'm exhausted. I'm fucking exhausted. I'm tired of the whole thing. I'm just tired of it all. Everything is so expensive. It's just crazy. And I realise I don't want to be here anymore. Like, it's already been a month. I don't want to be. It's weird because where I am is beautiful and everything's convenient and everything is wonderful. But once again, I'm in a position where I don't want to be here anymore because of all these people torturing me. I think the part that I'm not really admitting to myself is that I don't want to be in London. I don't want to be in Brighton. I don't want to be anywhere where the gang stalkers are. And yet everywhere I go is where the gang stalkers are. So I don't know what to do. I can't have these people in my life. The horrible thing is that it doesn't just stop when you're dead and gone. The assault on your memory and on your body, it continues. The cover-ups for the crimes continue. So this shit ain't gonna end when I'm dead. Like that's why I kind of regret trying to kill myself so many times. Like, it's not gonna end when I'm dead. It just isn't. It's not gonna end. It's just never gonna end. It's just gonna be a constant thing. People being moved from place to place, rendered vulnerable, bodies piling up. It's just never gonna stop. It's just never gonna stop. It's just gonna keep going. Sorry, I gotta check my notifications. It's just never gonna stop. It never stops. This is a self-indulgent whine, I'm sorry to say. It's a self-indulgent complaint about the way the world is and shit. It's not really anything productive. It's not really anything to help other TIs. I just needed to get this off my chest, but I'm so fucking exhausted of moving all the time. I'm exhausted, with the abuse. I'm exhausted with the torture, and the dread thing is, it's just getting worse. Like the torture and the attempts at entrapment, because as a targeted individual, you're getting resilient to it. It's just getting worse. It's relentless hatred. It's relentless hatred. It's relentless genocide. It's constant. It never stops, never leaves you. I don't know how I've survived for this long. I don't know how I've done it. The amount of money I've spent on distractions. I know how you feel. Been going through this for a year and there are bright spots. Yeah, I've been going through this for about... Okay, how long have I been aware of this? I've been aware of all of this since I was 21, 22 years old. I'm 35, 36 now, so I've been aware of it for like 14 or 15 years. You get resilient. You do get resilient to certain abuse, but then the second you get resilient is the second the torture gets worse. The older you get is the more emotionally resilient you get. So that's where the physical torture comes in. The physical torture worsens because you're getting older. And they still need to paint a picture of you as a human being. They need to paint a picture of you that represents dragging down the value of properties around you. So they need to paint that picture of you in order to move you from place to place, keep you mobile so no one can protect you. Okay? I've been going through this, I think I've been going through this all my life, if I'm honest with you, because of reasons. But I've been aware of this for 15 years. It never gets easier. You just get tougher. You get tougher. You get emotionally tougher to deal with everything. Like, that's how, I went from screaming in agony like 2 weeks ago through all the pain that I was subjected to basically shaving my head and making my house a home like in 2 weeks. Almost coming up to 3 weeks now. It normally takes, about 4 to 6 weeks to recover from a lumbar injury. I've recovered in half that time. I'm almost walking normally. So yeah, I'm almost walking normally because the way these torture devices work, the pain lasts for a few days. When they zap you particularly badly, the pain can last up to a few days. So they don't do it constantly. They just space it out so that you're constantly immobilized, right? But yeah, when you get older, the worse the older you get, the worse the torture gets. Because as you go along, you get emotionally more resilient to the insults that are thrown at you, to the gaslighting. You become less of a problem behaviorally, because when you're first getting into this TI thing, you're always curtain twitching. You're looking for the next person who's got those little buttons in their hands, because there are people who have those little buttons that are clicked in order to torture you. There's for every 10 people, there's one with those little buttons, right? And you start to notice the gaslighting and things like that. Sometimes you even accuse the wrong people of stalking you. And when you're first getting to understand that you're targeted, you become super hyper vigilant. Every word, every insult hurts you. because they keep making references to things that you try to hide from people. Like, for me, I always talk to myself a lot out loud, because I was dissociating a lot, and it wasn't like a schizophrenic thing. I was dissociating a lot, and people used to make references to that all the time. They used to call me mad girl and things like that, because they thought it hurt my feelings, you see, and it did at the time. The thing is that after a while, they keep attacking things about you to play on your anxiety and to play on your PTSD. The fact of the matter is that your anxiety needs to feel afraid of something. So what it will do is it will attach it to anything that the gang stalkers point out is wrong with you. They don't call me crazy anymore. They just call me fat now. And they think that, because of some one asshole who called me fat, suddenly I get so many people calling me fat, even though there are plenty of people around me. Because I live in Brighton, man. In Brighton, there are a lot of fat women here. In Brighton, there are a lot of fat women here, my guy. Like, there's some women who are even twice my size. And yet, I'm the only one being called fat. I'm the only one being insulted. Make it make sense. Do you understand what I'm saying? But that's what the gang stalkers do. You're going through a certain amount of anxiety because of everything that's going on. So it's like what they'll do is they'll try to attach your anxiety to that thing that they're insulting you for. And if they can make it about something that you have private thoughts about, if they can make it about something that you worry about privately or worry about, that's why I'm always open about my business. Because the thing is, if I'm open about it and I make videos about it, then the gang stalkers are not the only ones that see how I'm feeling. And therefore, I maximize my chances of being able to communicate with people and talk to people who actually understand what I'm going through. So that's why I don't keep nothing private. Because when I keep shit private, the only people who know what's going on are the gang stalkers. And the gang stalkers will use that against you at every opportunity. And as you go along, you kind of get used to that. You do get used to that. You get used to people gaslighting you and gang stalking you and this, that, and the third. And you become a little bit, you become a little bit socially savvy after a while. And you get to learn how to talk to people. You become more resilient to insults that people throw at you, because it's not coming from a real place. It's not coming from a real place. It's coming from a place of them trying to talk to you about private shit that you do in your house. I'm not being funny, but a lot of the shit that they talk to you about, after a while, you start to realize they're trying to torture you and insult you about normal shit. And they are the ones who have a lot more to hide than you do, because they're torturing people for a living. So after a while, it really starts to sink in. Like through the years, it really sinks in. Let me look at what you've written here. Yeah, prayer help. Yeah, no, prayer does help. It does help. How have you dealt with it? Have you tried to get justice for what has happened? Oh no, it's an ongoing thing. But there are ways in which you can work around it depending on what kind of person you are and what's the most important to you. For me, what I realize is that when it's one against everyone else, you have to be like a laser light and focus on one particular thing. You cannot allow yourself to get sidetracked with other things. So the way in which I expose gang stalking is through my home life. For somebody else, if they're at work all the time, they may expose gang stalking through their working environment. So it's like when you have a focus, like gang stalking is like a machine, and when you have a focus through which you penetrate gang stalking, you become like a laser light and you penetrate through that machine. It's only a matter of time before you find out who some of the bigger handlers are. It's only a matter of time before you find that out. And it's only a matter of time before you find out exactly how they're managing to stalk you. So, That's how I deal with it, yeah. But when it comes to, when it comes to emotional torture, when you get older, you do become more resilient to it because, it's a natural part of getting older. You're going to become more emotionally resilient to the insults. So that's when the physical torture increases. And it's a rough ride when you get physically tortured. It really is rough. And then when you go to hospital as a TI, and not even just as a TI, as a black woman as well, you're neglected in ways that is just absolutely crazy. It's like I said in another video, when I got to the hospital in Brighton, I wasn't given a hospital robe when I was staying overnight. I had to lie there in my own blood because I was basically on my period and I have fibroids on top of that. I had to lie there in my own blood until somebody came to change me. So that's just one of many, many things that went on in that hospital. Because, not just a black woman, but a TI too. So, of course, I was getting neglected to the nth degree on top of being physically tortured. So, no, it doesn't get easier. It really doesn't get easier. It's just that you become better prepared and better organized for when things do happen to you like that. And you become more resourceful. Even when you're laid out on your back, you do become more resourceful. Trust me, I know. But yeah, I was talking in roundabouts. I apologize. When it comes to the emotional torture, the older you get, the more used to you become to it. And ironically, you become a lot more resilient to the insults that are thrown at you than the gang stalkers do. The more you deal with gang stalkers is the more emotionally fragile they become because they know what they're doing is wrong. And either they don't care or they can't get out of it. So, ironically, you become emotionally resilient to the torture, whereas they kind of get more and more fragile and get more and more angry even when they have more power and they have more to work with. Like, for instance, if I saw a gang stalker in pain and they were able to, if I'd have caused a gang stalker pain and they were able to get out of it, I wouldn't be happy about it, but it wouldn't actually affect my self-esteem like that. Whereas if I get hurt, if I'm screaming in pain, like, if I'm screaming in pain and I can't walk, like, and then 3 weeks later, I'm able to not only walk, but walk almost normally, then how does that make the gang stalker feel? It makes the gang stalker feel fragile. So yeah, the gang stalkers, they get real, this is the thing, power makes you vulnerable. At a certain point, once you have the power to cause people pain and those people are able to see how you're able to do that, it makes you worried. Once their real selves are revealed, that's when the downfall comes, and they know it. So they're constantly trying to make you out to be the one who's causing all the property prices to devalue or all that type of shit. You're the one who's making the community worse, all that type of shit. When really you constantly expose that it's them doing it. It makes them nervous when you tell the truth. Have the same gang stalker stayed with you throughout the years. You know what? What I've experienced, right, is that some stalkers stay with you. Some stalkers never leave you alone. Like, I'm convinced that there's one stalker that I left behind in London that's still stalking me online. Okay? I have one, at least one. They followed me, I have at least one gang stalker who followed me in London, like from one address to the other. And I'm convinced there's another stalker that's followed me from London to here through their connections. But I can't prove anything. I can only speculate. I believe that there are some gang stalkers that stay with you because they're given licenses to do so, and then there are other gang stalkers who come and go for varying reasons. So I don't think that it's a case of, it's either they stay or they go. It depends on what their role is, and it depends on how high up these stalkers are on the hierarchy. It really depends. Nothing ever works the same way. When you're dealing with something this big, when you're dealing with social engineering on this level, you have to have different departments, and you have to have different people for different roles. So don't ever assume that, perps are coming and going, or they're just staying. Like, there's going to be some that stay, and there's going to be some that go. So I hope that answers your question. I thought they were voices of actual people. You're talking about the V2K now. But they revealed to me that they were sound-alikes or look-alikes, as they call it, yeah. Yeah, the V2K is really very tiresome. I can't say that I've had much experience with it. I don't know. I don't feel like I've heard any voices recently. That it might have done. Like, V2K might have been performed on me, but it's probably subtle. Why are you sorry? No, don't be sorry. No, you have every right to ask questions. You've got to ask questions about these things, otherwise you don't learn. So, yeah, you got to ask questions, man. It's not wrong in asking questions. So basically, yeah. Well, what was I saying? Yeah, the V2K, that's something that you got to be careful with, because even though the voice of God technology has been proven to exist, you really have to be careful when you're a lot of people say don't tell psychiatric staff, because they will definitely turn around and call you paranoid schizophrenic. That happened to me. I was hearing the most horrible things a few years ago. I'm not going to say what it was, but I was hearing the most horrible things that, they were so bad that they made me try to kill myself twice in one night. They were that bad. And when I spoke to the police about it, and I spoke to mental health about it, they basically labelled me as paranoid schizophrenic. I think that I might have brought up the V2K, but it's like the thoughts were consuming me they weren't really my thoughts. It was V2K. The V2K was fucking with me so bad that it never occurred to me to say, look, voice of God technology exists. If you want to synthesize a mental illness, especially if you're a big like defense systems conglomerate and you want to experiment on civilians, vulnerable people are the easiest people to do that on. You can experiment with voice of God technology and call it paranoid schizophrenia. You can even cause paranoid schizophrenia with the weaponry. So it's actually very, very easy to do, but at the time I wasn't thinking. I was just thinking I would just want these thoughts out of my fucking head. But that's the last time that it got like really, really bad. Like, that was the last time it got like seriously bad. Like, since then it hasn't been. If it's been present in my mind, I don't know it. Maybe through mild suggestions or something like that. But if the V2K has been present in my mind since then, I don't know it. It's got to be mild suggestion. Got to be, because it's not as heavy. It's not heavy duty. So yeah. So, and if it is there, I tend to just ignore it anyway. So, V2K is something that the torture I'm experiencing is impairing my ability to do most things properly, including my ability to research. Yeah, that's deliberate. I mean, with me studying, I used to read a lot. There were times where I didn't have a TV and my internet wasn't working or some shit like that, and I was like, you know what, I'm so bored. And I just started reading books. Like I started reading law books, economics. I started reading metaphysical stuff. I love alchemy. Alchemy is a big thing for me. So I started reading books and things like that. I used to get, people used to chuck shit at the wall all the time, used to chuck shit at the wall to stop me studying, shout through the wall to stop me studying, like even impair my eyesight through hitting a certain part of my brain, like to stop me from studying, to stop me from learning anything. There are times where I could literally see laser lights going into my eyes to damage my eyesight and to damage the nerve back there. So yeah, of course they're going to stop you from researching and studying, because you research and study into this shit in particular, then you're just going to end up making them look stupid, and you're just going to end up exposing their shit. So of course they want to stop you from learning. You keep the poor uneducated. That's how you keep the poor down. You keep them uneducated. So of course they're going to do that. Of course they're going to do that. Hold up. Go sit up. So, yeah, no, they're going to do that. They're absolutely going to do that. It's awful, but yeah, that's what they do. So, yeah, it's a lot to deal with. It's exhausting being a targeted individual. It's really fucking exhausting. It's just, it's exhausting, man. It really is. When it all comes down to it, everything is about image. Everything is about how things look. The reason why our torturers have been able to get away with what they've been able to... Hold up. Honestly, you seem very smart and well informed. I think for you to get to this point whilst experiencing torture, you're doing a good job. I could definitely say the same for you as well. If you've been going through this for a year, and your first thought is to ask for help and to ask for, to ask advice on these things, then you can't be doing too badly yourself. I mean, I wasn't doing that. I wasn't asking people. I was just basically just going nuts until somebody found me, I was going fucking nuts. I was going bananas. No one was helping me for a good few years, for the first, I was 21, 22 when I found out. I was in my 20s. So it was only in my late 20s. That was years before anybody found me and before I even thought to ask anybody any questions. It was years. So yeah, so you're doing pretty good as well for somebody who's only been in this a year. So yeah, congratulations to you. I was actually very lucky. I got a tip on what could have been happening whilst I was placed in a mental health ward. You see, this is exactly what I'm saying. The vulnerable people are the easiest people to do this to. They're the easiest people to do this to, because once again, it's about image. If you appear erratic, if your behavior appears erratic, and you're poor on top of that, you can't afford to change the narrative and what other people think about you. So you've got to put up with people calling you crazy or saying that you're making it up for attention. Because, you've been through so much. You've been through so much trauma, and, you're starting to engage in erratic behavior or antisocial behavior. Not antisocial in the sense of being narcissistic or sociopathic, but antisocial as in not really knowing how to talk to people, voices all shaky and shit, you're all nervy and shit. All of those things that the torture has done to you, it gives you an inability to be able to charm people, to be able to get people on side. So, so of course people are going to say that you're crazy or you're making it up or, and in the mental health ward, let me tell you something, man, mentally ill people, they know what's up. They have to. Because when the waves break on their mental health, there are other parts of their brain that kick into emergency mode. Because it has to. It has to have a certain amount of discernment in order for the body to survive. So mentally ill people have a lot of knowledge as to how the world works. They're natural seers. Because they have to be. They're natural seers. They're Mentally ill people are natural seers. They have to be able to, they can't process information logically, so they have to process it symbolically in order to protect themselves from their environment. They don't realize that's what they're doing, but that's what they're doing. Their bodies are doing that so that they can survive. And they know when something's not good for them, and they know when somewhere is not good for them, even in their fragile state. So I don't sleep on mentally ill people. I don't sleep on them. Okay? Somebody, for instance, somebody might have schizophrenia and might have a problem with me because I remind them of someone else, but that's because their body is trying to survive. Their body is trying to tell them something. But the tricky thing is when you're a mentally ill person and your mind is thinking in symbolic pictures, you don't really have the rationality to kind of figure out what your brain is trying to tell you. Somebody else has to do that for you. And unfortunately, mentally ill people don't get that because they have a mental illness, and therefore the only thing anybody's thinking of is to give them the opposite symptoms to what they've got. So they never learn anything about their own mental health processes. They never learn where these pictures come from. They never learn what their brain is trying to tell them in order for them to survive. That's what I'm saying. When you're a targeted individual, or when you're vulnerable, you're kept uninformed for a reason, to confuse you. If you're kept confused, then the torture is easier to implement. I developed a theory that is... Listen, man, Eleanor Longdon, listen, this is where me and you are in complete agreement. Me and you are in complete agreement, okay? If something like V2K, the voice of God, can mimic mental illness, and if something like directed energy weapons and acoustic weaponry, sonic weaponry, can literally injure parts of your brain and give you mental illness, and then on top of that, all the emotional abuse? Come on, man. Mental illness can easily be synthesized. It can even be easily faked. It can be faked to the point where you actually do become mentally ill because of all the stress. So yes, it can easily be synthesized. Eleanor Longdon, I'm going to look her up. But yeah, it can easily be synthesized very, very easily. It's not hard. Some of the most successful fucking some of the most successful TIs, the ones who were sufficiently broken, became perps themselves. The sufficiently broken ones, they became perps themselves. You understand what I'm saying? So, no, you're absolutely right there. Of course mental illness can be faked. Of course it can. And then they get you on these drugs, of which the side effects include worsened mental health and worsened hormonal health. These people know what they're doing. These people know what they're doing. Curing people ain't the answer. Curing people was never the point. That's why this whole thing is so fucking exhausting. I just want a fucking respite where I just want to have a home that I can just come home to, fix up, invite friends over, have friends that, I don't have to question whether or not they're gang stalking me, and just live life. But instead, we got to deal with the whole machinations of the world from the root, and it's like, damn, like, can we catch a break? Shit. It gets exhausting going down the rabbit hole all the time. It gets really exhausting, but it's like you have no choice but to go down the rabbit hole. When you're a member of the public, you can pretend that your world is as bad as the world gets. When you're not a TI, you can pretend that your world is not as bad as the world gets. But when you're a TI, some TIs experience gang rapes in their sleep at night, every night. Being beaten up and gang raped. Some TIs experience, even worse torture than what I've got going on. If everybody thinks that my torture is bad, they have no fucking idea. There are some TIs who have got their fucking skin falling off. Others are dying of cancer, dying of heart attacks. Like, when you're a TI, it doesn't matter how evil the world gets, it can always get worse. You don't have the benefit of deluding yourself that this world isn't that bad. You don't have the benefit of lying about it either. You have to be honest about it and say, yeah, the world is absolutely crooked. And the people at the top, they only care about retaining their own power. Everything that they do, even the so-called racial loyalty, among white supremacists is simply because in their minds, their owner are better at obeying than the rest of us are. And that's all it is. It doesn't matter how bad the world gets. It can always get worse. And the horrible part is that as a TI, you realise that people don't care. They just don't care. There are people who know how bad the world is and don't care. Because there's only so much capacity that their feelings can take for how bad the world is and how much needs fixing. When you're a member of the public, you get to lie to yourself. The closer you are to privilege, the more you get to lie to yourself that that's as bad as the world gets. But when you're in my position, where you're a TI, and you got all the other marginalised, you fit all the other marginalised demographics too, you can't kid yourself about the world. You can't kid yourself that things will ever get better. You can only assure yourself that whatever decisions are made, they're made from the vantage point of wanting more space and wanting more power. So, yeah, this world, it's never, this world as a TI is never as bad as, you want it to, there's no limit to evil. When you're a TI, that becomes very, very clear. There's no limit to evil, there's no limit to hatred. But the good part about that is that if there's no limit to hatred, if there's no limit to evil, if there's no limit to the harm that we can do to each other, apart from your lumbar, have you experienced other side effects of the torture? Yeah. I have really bad anxiety. I have PTSD. I have borderline personality disorder. I get attacked in my sciatic nerve, so I do get sciatica occasionally. I have fibroids as a result of the torture. The person that examined me said they were small, but I don't believe them because people stay lying about my health. I have gums. My gums are worn away on that side of my face. It got to the point where my dentist was really worried about it. There are times where I speak and my gums sort of collapse on themselves and my teeth end up grinding. That's because my gums are worn away on this side. I do have some memory loss, but I have a memory like an elephant anyway, so it's not long before I get my memory back. I have put on a lot of weight over the years, and I have an eating disorder. I do have an eating disorder, but it's an eating disorder combined with the attempted suicides, which involved a lot of pills, and of course the dehydration from the electronic weaponry doesn't help either, because the directed energy weaponry, it dehydrates your body. The sonic weaponry, it really wears away at your organs because it pressurizes your organs. It's got like basically kilojoules in it, so it pressurizes your organs as well. So my health is not as good as it could be because of the attacks. A lot of my organs are not working the way they should be. It's kind of a wonder I'm alive right now. But yeah, yeah, it's had a big effect on me. It has a big effect on a lot of people. Some people, of course, lose weight because of the cancer eating away at their bodies, and you know, and some people get diabetes. I think I might have diabetes, but I'm not sure. They said my blood sugar's good anyway. Um, but then again, that might be another lie. Um, I can sleep. It depends on how busy I've been throughout the days. If I'm really busy throughout the day, then I'm definitely going to be able to sleep. Which is why I usually get electronically attacked during the night. Either in my head, or I remember one night before all the pain really got bad, I got attacked here in my lumbar as well. So I got these shots all over my body, and to be honest, I agree with you when you said you're a TI. Everything is worse than it seemed. Oh my God, so bad. So bad. Every time I came close to figuring out the situation, it kept on escalating. Listen, man. Listen. True talk. It's horrible. It's horrible. And I think the worst part of it is that the only difference between being a TI and being a member of the public is that when you're a member of the public, you're lied to. But when you're a TI, no, there is no lie. You're not lied to. Yeah, we're torturing you. Can you imagine how many other members of the public are being tortured right now? And they don't know. When you're a TI, at least you fucking know what's going on. There are people who are not TIs who are being tortured and they don't know what the fuck's happening. They're thinking that all these illnesses, all these mental illnesses, it's coming from them. It's not coming from them. So yeah, when you're a TI, yeah, the more you find out, the worse it gets. It's absolutely correct. But for me, at least it's the truth. I can handle the truth, kind of. But yeah, when it comes to the side effects of the torture, I can sleep, which is why they often attack different parts of my body. Um, yeah, so yeah, they do that. Um, yeah, so I had a post about gentrification um, on my on this page that you should really check out. It's like there's no end to. Hang on. Okay, M Renard one. Okay, it's like there's no end to their power. Oh no, there's always limits. There's always limits. There's always limits to somebody's power. Power is limited. Power is limited. Like I said before, they have weak spots. I thought that they could just see my thoughts. It turns out they can go through your memories, predict your future, and see and smell everything just as you do. Okay, that you're talking about the nanotech side of things. I don't really know that much about that. Um, and honestly, the future that they think they're seeing, that's one timeline. That's one timeline based on the thoughts and feelings that they have elicited in you. You can change that if you want to. It's not easy, but you can change it. They're only seeing one future. They're not seeing the multiple futures that are ahead of you. They're not seeing the multiple futures that are ahead of you. That's if the technology is capable of that, which I believe it is. There's multiple futures and multiple different timelines, but the emotions that they elicit in you, it's built, but when you can control somebody's emotions, you can control the flow of where their timeline goes. So I think that what they see is only one part of you. That's the beauty of this. They're only seeing one part of you, and that's the part of you that they want to see. If you want to kind of lead them away from whatever future you hold, or whatever future you've got in front of you, it's you can change your feelings, and you can, you can change the frequency that you emit, and you can change your timeline if you really want to. But it's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do. Yeah. I wouldn't worry about that. Just be open and honest about the things that you experience. You don't have to tell everybody everything. But if you're open and honest about who you are and about what you want in this life, and about, yeah, you're going to get some people wishing that you don't get what you want. But then when you are open and honest about who you are and what you're going through, and you can do that, you increase your chances of you increase your blessings. When it's said that the truth will set you free, that's absolutely true. When you stop trying to hold on to your privacy, and you stop trying to hold on to, the illusion of control and the illusion of safety, like I said, you become emotionally resilient, and you even find ways to be happy in the midst of this crap. I did. So worrying about, oh, they can see everything. Who gives a shit? I'm sorry. Play on their blindnesses. Let them look at your shit. Let them look at your shit. Because while they're looking at your shit, they're not looking at their own. Let them look. Let them look now. Who cares? At the end of the day, while they're looking through your shit and looking through your life, they're not looking through their own lives. That's a blind spot. That's a blind spot, and that's why they keep being surprised every single time a TI manages to pull a stunt out of the bag. They keep being surprised because they're too busy with their nose in somebody else's business. They're too busy trying to control other people's lives, trying to play God, and they don't play God in their own lives. That's how I've managed to continuously outfox my gang stalkers each and every time. Because they always got their nose in my business, to the point where they don't have their nose in their own. And while they got their nose in my business, while they're watching me, I'm watching them. If they know what I do, I know what they do. Do you understand what I'm saying? If I know what... Hold on. Yeah, to be honest, I feel like I've lost a lot. But it's true, when I was in uni, when this happened just before COVID hit, and I wonder I could have been still going through this without knowing the truth. Yeah, it's most likely if you've been through this now, then you might have been through it beforehand, and they wanted to wake you up to the fact that you were going through it. You might have gone through it years beforehand, and they wanted you to become aware of it as part of the next stage of the torture or something like that. But yeah, without a doubt. Like when the gang stalkers are watching you, you're watching them. That's what they don't seem to get. It works both ways. The amount of shit while they're looking into me, the amount of secrets I've been able to dig up on these fucking perps, you would not believe. Bro. The amount of shit I've been able to dig up on them, you wouldn't believe it. They think they're the only ones being watched. That's their problem. They think they're the only ones watching. I initially thought people put cameras in your home. Yeah. They can put cameras in your home. They can still do that. Once again, what you have to understand about gang stalking is that it's all about illusion. There is no reason why, even with the nanotech watching everything that you do, there's no reason why cameras still can't be put in your home. There's no reason why that can't be done. Because remember, the whole point is to make people feel powerful. The whole point is to make the perps that are doing this to you feel powerful. If they need to feel powerful through watching you through a camera, then they're going to be enticed with that. If they need to feel powerful through other means, then they're going to do that too. Remember, this is a big machine with multiple parts. So they're going to work with everything. They're going to work with cameras, but all of that Everything is for the illusion of control. And if they have the illusion of control and the illusion of power, then they actually have it. Okay? It's to create an environment or a feeling of isolation in the part of the target. That's what all of this is designed towards. So never ever assume that one type of technology isn't going to be used just because the other is more advanced. Like, never assume that shit. Never assume that shit, because every single perp is here to feel powerful. That's what they're here to do. And at the end of the day, there are some perps who are just not going to be trusted with nanotechnology. Do you seriously think all these perps are going to be trusted with nanotech? Get the fuck out of here, man. Some of them are barely even trusted with fucking DEWs, let alone nanotech. Like, not every single perp is going to be trusted with every single piece of technology. Some of them are too fucking stupid. You got to allocate them in a specific hierarchy. These V2K stalkers tell me that it was gifted to them. Yeah, they're made to believe that. They never reference V2K itself, but... well, like I said before, you got different people for different things, but they're all enticed with the ability to make themselves feel powerful. There are different perps of different machines, different styles of torture. Lots of them are hired for different things, but they're all enticed with the same thing: the ability to take control of a situation outside themselves. They're all enticed with the same thing. So again, maybe V2K is used on you because that's what works in, in relation to your profile. Maybe they've done a psychological profile on you, and maybe they thought that's what works with you. But it varies on the TI. It depends on the TI when it comes to the effectiveness on of the torture. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, no, they got different they got different perps of different things. So never assume that no piece of technology is going to be used anymore. Never assume that. There are some perps who are going to be relied upon with outdated technology because the people who are really in charge of this whole defense systems technology thing, they're not going to trust a bunch of idiots with nanotech. So, yeah. Synthetic telepathy is quite easily done. It's just frequency modulation. Frequency modulation to carry the voice over to the right organ so that you can hear it inside your head without actually needing apparatus. It's as simple as that. So V2K can be easily done. It can be easily done by any idiot who really knows their frequencies, who knows like physics on a relatively advanced level. Anybody can do it. It's not difficult. But but anyway, yeah, I really am an exhausted TI, so I gotta go. Unless there's anything else you want to ask me. Yeah. What I was gonna say was, yeah, there are going to be different perps used for different things. And yeah, social engineering is the name of the game. They've performed gentrification with it, and don't assume anything. Don't let pharmaceuticals fool you either, because they didn't get their money by curing illnesses. They got their money by creating new ones. I'm just gonna say that. If you're a pharmaceuticals company, how are you going to be successful if people don't keep buying your shit? It was great chatting to you. I actually sent a message on your DM yesterday after I saw your Saturn's Chronicles. Okay, I'll check you out. Yeah. Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll check it out, don't worry. Yeah, so don't let pharmaceuticals fool you either. Yeah, don't let pharmaceuticals fool you either. At the end of the day, if they were curing diseases, they wouldn't make as much money as they did. That's the one thing you got to remember. And defense systems, in order to in order to properly test out what methods are good to use on political dissents and on enemy targets, they have to test it out on people who are not going to be taken notice of, and that's usually vulnerable people. So don't let nothing fool you. Don't let nothing fool you. And now I gotta go. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. I didn't think that the video would turn out like this, but I'm actually glad it did. I'm glad it wasn't just a way for me to just whine about my issues. I want to thank Renard1 for being here, and for those of you who catch this video later, thank you so much for joining me. We'll talk soon. Take care. Bye bye.